but it's the same. Like, this is what I felt like. This whole long movie was a Jerry Seinfeld bit, like, right? It's a Jerry Seinfeld stand-up comedy, but it's like, in the beginning of the show where they do the whole like ba-doom, ba-doo, ba-doop, doop, doop, and he does his stand-up and he gets into
Yeah.
the show. The movie is the stand-up part. It's not the show. It's just Jerry Seinfeld doing the thing, and then you're supposed to be like, "Was that funny? Should I laugh?" Like that was a lot of that for me personally. I gotta say,
Okay, and
of
what
in the
Steve is talking
film.
about, our audience, we're going to go ahead and move into it. We're going to talk about Unfrosted 2024. So yeah, the recent movie that Jerry Seinfeld's put out is a movie called Unfrosted, which is of course a
Mhm.
story about how they created the Pop Tart. It has a 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 42% on Rotten Tomatoes. Starred Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rickett, Rachel Harris, Catherine Lass. They had a lot of people in it.
Yeah.
Nelson Franklin, Hugh Grant was in it. So it's basically a satire on how the Pop Tart was created. Of course, it's about Kellogg versus basically Post, but
Mhm.
it's also like a satire element on basically a play on history. But what Steve is getting at is absolutely true. There's a lot of just that basic Jerry Seinfeld humor that I don't know if he thought this movie was going to be particular edgy or people were going to be offended. I
Yeah.
watched it. I laughed at some parts,
He
but
directed this as well.
there was nothing about the movie I was like, "Oh, that's over the line," or "Oh,
Yeah. Right.
that's crossing, the edge right there." There was nothing in the movie that was about that. I thought there was some good funny parts and play on history, but for the most part, the movie itself was I was just like, ha ha ha. It made me
Were
laugh
you
here and
were
there.
you offended by any of what you saw?
No, I wasn't offended by any of it. I
Okay.
mean, there was some moments I thought were really funny, but
There was a moment that was funny as hell, I will say.
I liked Hugh Grant as Tony the
He's
Tiger. I
Tony
thought
the
that was
Tiger,
great when
and
they
then
were
the funeral
burying the
scene,
guy with full
the
the
full
funeral scene was
cereal.
absolutely hilarious.
That's
But
funny.
there's nothing about that movie I found offensive. In fact, it really to me kind of almost played off of like it tried to be clever like thank you for smoking kind of clever. But the problem
Yes.
was, this is going to sound funny. Thank you for smoking is more edgier than that movie. Thank
Yeah.
you for smoking is more
Yeah.
offensive than
And let
that
that sink
movie.
in. That's funny just to
Yeah,
say that, bro.
because thank you for smoking is pretty lighthearted,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
this one is even doubly lighthearted. I mean, I don't know what they were going for. I mean, Amy Schumer in the movie too. She plays the post president, and
Yeah, Marjorie Post.
she was okay. There
She
was
kind of
just
felt like a kid's, like, it felt
forced,
weird,
very
dude. It
forced.
super duper. I felt like the thing about this film is they have every major like comedian in the game currently going right now is in this film, from like, from Bill Burr to Jim Gaffigan to, even Amy
Yeah,
Schumer,
Jim
right?
Gaffigan was in it.
Yeah, he was like Mr. Kellogg. And this is the thing that I thought too, Rob. The funny thing about everyone being in this film, like, is their names, right? Like, Jerry Seinfeld's name was Ravioli in the film. Like, you know what I mean? You have Estelle Kellogg. Bill Burr was JFK. You have a bunch of weird, silly names for silly people, and they're not really like joking either. I think that's what we were kind of going like, dang, there's a lot of comedians here. It's going to be a lot of them kind of riffing and being funny, and they kind of played it straight because Jerry Seinfeld was directing it, and it's probably like, do the lines as I have them.
Luke, what did you think about Unfrosted?
Oh, I didn't see it. I took one look at that shit and I was like, no.
Yeah, you
But why?
Yeah.
But
you
why
didn't want
though?
to get
Did you not?
frosted.
Yeah, you didn't want to get frosted by it.
Yeah, I didn't see the appeal just because I just heard that like it wasn't. I heard the reviews I heard was that like it was bad to like oh it was actually kind of funny. So I was like I didn't need to waste my time. Uh,
Yeah, I watched it with somebody. Someone was like, "Let's watch this," and I was like, "Ah, "Okay."
I
Yeah.
told this to Rob. I've heard many people comment on this movie, Luke, and they said it's like super bad for boomers.
Interesting. That's an interesting because I think that's what I think that's like what Jerry Seinfeld has been pigeonholed into, and that's all he can really do.
That's what he can do.
This
You see, just get all these people, surround me with all this talent, and then I'm just gonna do weird Jerry Seinfeld quirkiness for the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, what would you give Unfrosted, Steve? I would give Unfrosted exactly what it has. Actually, a 5.5. That's exactly what I'd give it.
No, I'm giving it a 3, dude. For
You give it
one
a
thing,
three.
that made the funeral scene was funny, but after that, I was just like, I don't know what to laugh at. I'm kind of just looking at it. Look, it's beautiful. It's very colorful, but you know.